some of the use cases that are really just related to the store of information, right? Because you probably guys like recently heard about Balaji and, like his bet that Bitcoin is going to reach like $1 million. And if you read his book about the network state, this is actually what he talks about quite a bit, that like Bitcoin is that layer that we could store information on and it can never be changed, right? Like nobody can play around with the history books, as we kind of even experienced, before. And so, this is something that is really important for civilizations, right? Or civilization like us and generations after us, like having actually this kind of like decentralized storage layer. And you can obviously inscribe JPEGs, and we all love JPEGs here, but you can take it forward and you can inscribe basically any kind of file, right? And obviously, Sai, maybe you can comment on that. What are the limitations for people? Because there are some limitations. You guys, if you looked into Ordinals, you will realize that you cannot inscribe anything, and there's some limited space, and the speed, it's pretty slow, and sometimes you need to wait for transactions to go through for hours and hours and hours. And it's just because of the way how the blockchain works, how the Bitcoin blockchain works. But anyways, you can find these creative ways to inscribe information onto the most decentralized chain. And if we move into these historic moments or even media, we see people experimenting with that, creating protocols. How can you inscribe, factual events, right? That cannot be played with. And I think this is super, super exciting. And, I'm definitely just excited to see what else is going to come, because, we have been doing this for the past 4 weeks, I can imagine that in the next 12 months, there's going to be 10x more use cases that are going to be even 10x more fascinating. So I'm just super stoked to be here so early.
I love that. It's an exciting feeling, aside from the totally understand where you're going from, where you're just you're so deep in, you've lost track of time, because this has been such a wild ride. So definitely appreciate where you're coming from there, man. It's really exciting, because it's I love the fact that we're able to experience this together, with the Lazy Lions community. There's one community all experiencing it together. It sort of reminds me of from our point of view, the early days when, as a community, I think that's what, it's been 18 months, right? There's obviously been tens, if not hundreds of thousands, if not millions of NFT projects that have come out, right? And I think what's been really, really incredible about the community here is we've experienced these things together, and we have these cool set of values, and exploring the possibility, of Web3 is right up there, right? And for us, this is definitely part of it, and it's exciting to think that this is literally like we said, it's only been a few months since the actual release of NFTs on Bitcoin. It's a huge deal, and it'll definitely be interesting to see the utility and the ideas that come out of it. There's a lot of smart people working on this tech. I mean, besides yourselves, obviously there's. So it's really exciting to see how many people are really thinking about this and working on this day in, day out. And the angle that we took with the 80 lions that are going to be inscribed on Bitcoin is, from the entertainment angle, it had to fit into the story. And a bit of background, so we have an antagonist glitch, which I'm sure the lions in the community listening in are aware of. And he's back, and he's looking for his generals, the generals of his army, Glitch's army. And with the original Lazy Lions mint, it actually tried to sneak in an additional 80. He tried to sneak in his army, but his plan was foiled, and he was only able to get in an extra 80. But those lions were locked in the ether, and he'd just been waiting for the right time to be able to bring them to his army. And with Bitcoin Ordinals, that time is now. He's able to inscribe them on the Bitcoin network forever and kick off his army. So that's what he's doing now. He's recruiting people to join him on his journey to accumulate dark energy. That's what the Open Edition is about, because obviously you need energy to move over to proof of work with Bitcoin. So that's the angle that we took for it. And it actually is true. There are an additional 80 lines that were minted on the original contract with no metadata. So it was a neat little goal. But that's the angle that we took in terms of the big storytelling piece for us, as well as provenance, of course.
That's really creative. It's like the king of the jungle meets the king of the blockchains. So I'm excited about it.
Here's a little question I had on this. So you already have these 80 tokens existing on the Ethereum side. Are you interested in potentially teleburning them to their Bitcoin counterparts? I would love to help with that, and that would be the most practical, non-individualized use of teleburning so far, in my opinion.
Something we should definitely talk about. And so, I guess just for everyone else's and my sake as well, what do you mean by that? Just so I'm not misinterpreting what you're saying.
Sure. Teleburn is a concept created by Casey, the man behind this new standard and protocol that we're all building on top of here. And it's the idea of taking assets from another chain, so in this case Ethereum, generating a unique burn address that cryptographically is pointed to by an inscription. So you now have the ability to burn the asset on Ethereum in quotes, and in exchange have a mutable pointer between both the NFT that is burned on Ethereum and the inscription that's on Bitcoin. So they're now irrevocably linked, assuming that the cryptography doesn't break down in the future with like quantum computers or something crazy.
Can I just ask you, Cypher, just when you say burned, I've looked into it, but I need to actually dig deeper into teleburning. But as far as I'm aware, it doesn't actually send it to the burn address, right? It randomly just generates a public key where it sends it to that, and then obviously it's just like practically impossible for anyone to basically get that private. It's just as impossible for anyone to guess your private key than that private key. So it's essentially burned. But I just wanted to ask you the question of like, why not send it to the burn address?
Sure. So this is two-part. One, when we say the burn address, there is actually no the burn address in Ethereum. We've kind of decided on all zeros or all zeros that ends in the letters DEAD as burn addresses, but those are not defined anywhere within standards. And the majority of times, if you, let's say hypothetically, it's mathematically impossible, but let's say hypothetically, you open your MetaMask, you generate a new wallet, and you ended up with the public key for either of those, you would suddenly be much, much richer from all these people that have burned their assets. So that's kind of a misnomer. It's not really possible to truly burn them without going through the contract itself. With that said, the reason we use these customized burn addresses, which have the same mathematically secure properties as all zeros or all zeros with dead, is this allows us to encode data in the location that they're stored in. So that address we use is actually a SHA-256 of the inscription ID that you're associating it with. It's a little more complicated than that. I'm happy to go through the code with you on the side. But effectively, it creates a system where given any inscription, you can look up the teleburn address associated with it and see all the NFTs that have been burned into that inscription.
Got it. That makes sense. I get it.
Interesting. Yeah, definitely something we'll talk about on the side. But yeah, I mean, they are related to those 8. That is a fact. I guess just moving into like a different theme as well. So, what do you all see as like the downsides potentially or disadvantages of Ordinals? And I know something that you look at it.
The downsides apply mostly on the collection owner side, which is really counter to where the collection owner was defining the rules previously. Now the freedom lies totally on the end of the consumer, and that does mean that you can't do things like, let's say you decided you didn't like the art of one of the generals. You can't go back and, repoint that to a new IPFS hash. Now it's permanent. It's the collection or the owner of that inscription's choice if they wanted to allow you to do that or not. So the downside is really the immutability, which is such a backwards thing to say when that's the greatest benefit. But there are cases where people would want mutability. They would want to be able to make changes. They would want to be able to say upgrade a contract on ETH. But you can't do that here. and it's mostly an advantage, but for anybody who might need mutability, it would be a disadvantage.
Yeah,
to that point. Sorry, Brian. To that point, I think, Sai, thank you so much for that point. I think, everybody just should be aware. I just don't, I actually think it's not a disadvantage, right? Like, especially for, even a collection like yours, right? Like, you guys obviously have presence on Ethereum, and, you're going to do all the stuff that you need to do with, let's say if you want to play around with the contracts, if you want to update this and that, and if you really kind of want to leverage the more advanced smart contracts that exist on Ethereum that maybe don't really exist now on Bitcoin, or obviously the layer one is somewhat limited in this regard. So, you can do that crazy creative stuff on Ethereum, and then, you can have some sort of like part of the collection on Bitcoin. And you can actually find ways to connect those, right? Like, and Sai and Brian, I would love to actually hear from you. Like, what are you maybe seeing, or what are you kind of even hoping to see in this kind of like, obviously, if you ask the true Bitcoiners, we say cross-chain, nobody likes that. But in the NFT space, I think it's actually very interesting conversations to be had, right? Like, what can we actually do across different chains? How can we connect these two things, these two different assets on different chains? Because I think that's where the interesting stuff for collections, and for like brands like Lazy Lions that are actually building a story, that's where it comes in, right? And that's where the value can be created for the holder. So that's something that I'm actually pretty excited to see what innovations are going to come into that space.
Yeah, I'm also a cross-chain guy as well. However, I do really want to see how far we can push the envelope of this thing in terms of what can we build directly onto layer one protocol of Bitcoin. It's super limited, like Cypher said, but those limitations will, you can use them to your advantage. And I think that, for example, with the artwork, we've seen a lot of friction from artists, like, I need to compress my file way down. And then another artist actually said, I actually quite like the fact they can do that. I'm using it as a feature. You can get these really grungy, glitchy looking digital assets essentially, and then you just compress them down to nothing and don't notice the difference. So there's benefits to it as well. And I think the question of layer twos should come in when people want to have that flexibility. Maybe they want to all the creative stuff basically we've seen happening with contracts on Ethereum. That will be something projects will like to do, and then that you can get, for example, there's a blockchain called Stacks out there. They've been around for a few years and they've got deep integration with Bitcoin already. So they're basically poised to be a really strong contender in the layer 2 game for Bitcoin, and they essentially bring smart contract functionality to Bitcoin. And then they're deeply integrating with Ordinals. They're going to have a stable coin Bitcoin asset, which is completely trustless. So all the creative stuff you could essentially offload to an L2. And so I think that's going to be maybe the way it goes. But I'm really excited to see how far people can push this technology, and where there's limitations and there's enough demand, like things get fixed. There's been a huge, massive wave of retail people just flooded into Bitcoin, and retail people have no patience. Like, they don't want to read a 25-page tutorial to find out how to set up a wallet. Right, so they just want to click a button. So this has got to be a great thing for Bitcoin. I'm a UX guy, and I love seeing all this UX kind of a stuff already being pushed forward by the likes of Xverse and different projects. And yeah, I think it's a great thing for Bitcoin, and it's got to be a great thing to see kind of the fee market being used properly and things. So it's really exciting.
Yeah, I'm going to differ from both of these two in that I don't think we should be doing cross-chain yet. I'm not saying we never do, but for now, it's really, to quote Mufasa, that shadowy place, you don't go there, Simba. It's just not a smart idea yet, because we're still really defining our standards and all these other very complex challenges. And when you increase the size of the problem set exponentially, you're going to lead to both confusion, where you have people who say, buy a NFT on OpenSea that's wrapped in Emblem Vault that's actually representative of an inscription. Try to explain that to your grandma. And my goal is really that I want inscriptions to be more user-friendly in the long run than even NFTs are right now. I want to be able to hand my grandma a Bitcoin wallet and her to be like, oh, look, I've got like these fancy little cat pictures on my wallet here. So with that goal in mind, I think multi-chain will come. I think that grumpy people like me won't be able to hold that back. But I think that if we can delay it, there's benefits in the ability to further grow and understand our problem set before we do so.
Yeah, it's a great point, Si. Actually, I'm not trying to sound like, I am pushing for multi-chain today. Like I think the time will come. And, one upside of this, right? And obviously I understand your perspective in terms of the user experience and, explaining this to kind of let's say, I would say the normies, right? Even, you say your grandma, like I cannot even imagine like getting my dad or even getting my brother into these things because they are not technical. They don't really care about crypto. And if I try to explain these things, like they will just think that I'm crazy. And plus I'm going to be basically selling them on JPEGs, right? Like, hey, buy this JPEG for this amount of money or spend this amount of money to inscribe a JPEG on the chain, right? Like they're going to think that I'm crazy. But the upside that I see in this, right, is, and especially we saw it with these ordinals, over the past like 3 weeks, because we saw Yuga Labs, we saw D-Gods, and we saw many of these different collections, and now we see Lazy Lions getting into inscriptions. And through this, we're educating so many people about Bitcoin, and we're bringing them into that conversation. And, we can actually spread the word and make the ecosystem bigger. And so that, for me, is the biggest upside for this kind of cross-chain functionality. For instance, you mentioned Emblem Ball. Obviously, they have done a lot of great stuff in terms of actually serving these customers, right? And so that's like, to me, is like that upside that I see. Obviously, again, yes, the tools have to get better. We're doing our part, but obviously we're just one team and we need to collaborate more and we need more resources to like make it safer, make it more user-friendly, etc. But we're going to get there. And, I'm just happy that people are experimenting, Obviously, again, I am also super happy for you, Sai, to call out things and, to like put them in the right direction because we need that. And, overall, I'm just excited for everything that is happening in the space. That's kind of the point that I wanted to put across.
I love that. And I get all views on this, right? I mean, like the very reason Bitcoin was created, right? I mean, we're going through that now. I mean, back in 2008 with the big crash with all the banks and the need for, a proper decentralized system that, no one can interfere with. And it feels very relevant as we're going through this and, large banks are failing and everything that's happening, right? So I totally get and appreciate all views on it. And I guess just, we've thrown around a whole bunch of different terms as well. So maybe if we just get into like the education part, then I think we can move into some like Q&A with community members and anyone listening in. If you'd like to request, please feel free to do so, and then we'll bring everyone up in the next 5 or so. That let's just go through some of those technical aspects, like what is a Satoshi, what is an inscription, how do you buy, sell, trade ordinals, like what marketplaces, wallets, how do you store them? Let's just go through those, that part together.
So, do you want to take it away? I think you should maybe take care of the more technical stuff, and I can probably talk about the wallets and maybe some marketplaces, and obviously, Brian, feel free to chime in as well.
Yeah, that works perfectly for me. So I'll kind of define the terms, and then I'll let the other two, who are more on the business development side and technical application side for front-end users, address how these apply to you. So when we say things like sats or satoshis, what we're referring to is roughly equivalent to, if you're in the US, a penny. It's the smallest denomination of currency that we reference. Or to use Ethereum terms, it's a gwei. It's the absolute smallest thing that we can reference that still has value in our ecosystem. There's nothing smaller. You can't have half of a sat. You have a whole sat as a bare minimum, just like you have a whole penny. Nobody's going to accept your penny that you cut in half. Then when we say ordinal, commonly we'll say ordinals to refer to the assets, but in practice, it's actually ordinals are like the serial number on dollar bills. they're a means of identifying which sat is where and which one it is. Because without that, if we tie an asset to an ordinal, it does us no good if we don't know which ordinal that is. It'd be like if we said ownership of this car goes to the owner of this penny, but didn't have a way to identify which penny that was. You'd have a whole lot of people come out of the woodwork and say, oh no, it's this one. It's the one I have in my wallet or my pocket. So then inscriptions are inscriptions is the process and asset created when you associate data stored on Bitcoin with a ordinal sat. So those three terms work together to create a cohesive whole where now we effectively can write ownership of an asset to a penny that has a serial number that we can always track in the future. I think that was all the terms you'll need. If you want, we can always roll back into more if you come across anything odd.
Yeah, you nailed it. That's absolutely a perfect example. And when we're talking about inscribing onto a SAT, that essentially means that you take arbitrary data and you literally save it along with the transaction, and that'll then essentially inscribe it literally forever onto that Satoshi. And it uses the witness data, and that's been kind of brought on by an upgrade to Bitcoin called Taproot. So if you want to look into Taproot, that upgrade that happened, that enabled people to basically store arbitrary data in a transaction, a Satoshi, and then Casey, the creator of Ordinals, simply used that kind of a feature and then invented this ordinal theory on top of that, which is a really, really, in my mind, really smart kind of a beautiful theory that you can basically map Satoshis to this ordinal, and from that kind of mapping you can have all these little reference kind of a offshoot kind of a connections as well. So each Satoshi, each ordinal has basically got its own unique ID, and then you can get from that ID you can extrapolate like a name and different other various things. So that's pretty interesting. And for us at OrdinalSpot, what we seen was that to inscribe these things actually onto the ordinal index, you have to run your own Bitcoin node, and also you have to have the Ord client running as well side by side. And running your own Bitcoin node, there's tutorials for it online, but it's not easy for the everyday person to just spin up. And then now also the Ord client is a very large kind of a client. It's now 50 gigabytes I think at this point. So it's also like a maintainability thing. And we seen a technical hurdle there, for the average consumer, and then we just basically built an application on front where you can literally just drag and drop any kind of file, and then we will essentially inscribe it for you using our backend and just inscribe it directly to your Bitcoin wallet. And that's basically where Jan comes in with the wallet side of things, because basically, back in the day, before Ordinals 2 months ago, there was no such thing as an ordinal wallet. Like, nobody knew what this was. So one Satoshi equaled one Satoshi. It was completely fungible. So the wallet essentially didn't care what Satoshi it sent you. Please excuse me if I keep saying Satoshable. It's burned in memory. But so the wallet didn't care what Satoshi essentially it sent you. So now one Satoshi might have a monkey JPEG or a lion JPEG inscribed on it. So obviously you need to be careful with it, and that's where wallets like Xverse have now kind of came up and basically solved that problem. So I'll hand it over to Jan.
If you don't mind if I jump in before...
Yeah, please go ahead, Si. I just wanted to say, go ahead.
Yeah, so I just want to jump in here real quick. You bring up the technical hurdles. Just like we've kind of done the opposite where you've proposed things that are good and I've said I don't like them, I'm going to do the opposite here and say this is actually a really awesome opportunity for a lot of people. So on the Ethereum side, most people don't have the capability of running like an archival node. You were talking terabytes of space needed, whereas a Bitcoin node and Ord can run in under 600 gigs of storage space on almost any hardware. So it's this opportunity for people to not only own a copy of the chain on their own drive, meaning that you are now part of that redundancy. If yours is the only hard drive left alive on Earth, we can rebuild the blockchain from you. So that's awesome. But furthermore, it allows them to be directly involved in contributing to the network that they're going to have their assets on, creating this redundant pattern, an awesome opportunity. I'm not saying that everybody should do this, but if it's something you're interested in, please join the Ordinals Project Discord. There's a few of us in there who will absolutely walk you through how to become involved more on the Bitcoin side and become more educated on how to contribute in that way and get involved in these complex conversations that people like Brian and John are having, where they're building the cutting edge tech over here.
Just before Jan jumps in, I could not agree more, and I think it's basically like maybe a kind of a bad thing on my side for not addressing that. I think it's totally right. Our co-founder is a Bitcoin dev for over 10 years. He's a massive Bitcoin adopter. He's a core developer, and he's been building in Lightning for 5 years. So he would be the first person to tell you, like, go and spin up your own node, just for exactly the reasons Cypher said. The more nodes, the better. It improves the whole network. So we are actually advocates of that. I think we, as Ordinals Bot, can basically do a better job, maybe on our website, of actually pushing that stuff. So 100% agree with you on that. And I just kind of wanted to say that it's a great way, our kind of service and service like ours is a great way for people to dip their toe in without having to go in down the technical kind of wormhole right away. But like, definitely, research it and look into it.
Yeah, totally, guys. This has been great so far. And, I would just add to it from the user experience, because, again, I'm not the technical person here, so I don't want to get into too many specifics. And if you have any technical questions, definitely reach out to Sai, or, even DM me, and I'm more than happy to point you to the right person or in the right direction. But, basically, I actually tried different wallets, right? So before we got into Ordinals, before we basically decided, okay, like, we're going to support this, we're going to build that tooling or those features and directly inside of our wallet, I basically tried a couple of those wallets, and one of those obviously was a Sparrow wallet, for instance, because I think the Ord wallet side, correct me if I'm wrong, that's even more technical than Sparrow. And so, like, that's something that I didn't even try to play around with, because it's just the terminal, right? Like, you need to interact with it, basically like being a coder in a sense. And so that's a little bit too much for me. But I tried Sparrow wallet, and I will tell you guys, like, I have been in crypto for a while, and I had to Google stuff for a couple hours to even figure out, how to set it up. And then you need to have 2 different addresses, and like, how does it even work? And I didn't even get into actually trying to send those things, from the Sparrow wallet. Like, that's like a whole new level, I guess. You really need to understand the UTXOs and stuff like that. And so, that was basically one of the reasons why we even decided to do it. And Sai, yeah, please jump in, before I get into the next point, if you want to comment on this.
Yeah, I just wanted to agree with you that if anybody who's going to come over, they're going to get one of these awesome lions and come over to the Bitcoin side, understand that all of the knowledge you have about crypto, it doesn't matter if you were a developer on contracts on ETH, don't try to apply that knowledge without thinking about it carefully, because some things are just not going to be the same. For instance, we don't have one address. I know on ETH you have a singular address. It defines your identity. You associate your .eth to it. I've got a .eth associated with an address. I promise I'm there. I'm a degen despite my crypto or cypherpunk coverings here. But if you try to come over and you do the same thing here, you're going to be like, okay, I've got an address, I'm good to go. Except that here, I'm currently using 200 plus addresses that are all part of a single wallet. And that sounds insane, but when you come over, do the research, learn how it works, so that way you can protect your assets to the best possible level that you can. I apologize, my screen shut off.
No worries, no. Thank you so much, Sai. This is super important, right? Like, we actually, I cannot emphasize this enough that, obviously I want to get people as excited as I can about Ordinals, and, I want to have them, all using XWorks, but my point is, use any kind of wallet you want, that works for you, right? We are building this ecosystem together. And so the more people come in and more experiences they have, the better, right? But, for XWorks, what we basically decided to do is to make this kind of Sparrow wallet experience into much more user-friendly one. So right now, basically you go into XWorks, we're available across many devices. So iOS, Android, we're also on desktop via the Chrome extension. You just basically download the app, download the Chrome extension, install it, and you're basically ready to go, And so you have, by default, you have a Bitcoin payment address, and then you have a separate address that basically supports the ordinals. So you can receive ordinals, you can store the ordinals there. And these addresses are separate on purpose, right? Because, again, what happens, not every single address supports them. And you also want to keep that experience very clean. So, for instance, when you're sending the ordinal, you don't want to spend the Bitcoin, that is in the same wallet in a sense, right? Like, you really need to make that distinction. And so for us, we did it that we have two separate addresses. So whenever you're sending ordinal from your ordinals address, you're actually spending Bitcoin from the payment address. So like it's not being touched at all. And so the ordinals address is really just used to, store those things, receive those things, and transfer those things to potentially other people or marketplaces, etc. And so that's basically just like one of the ways how we made that experience a little bit more clean and also safer. But again, we're non-custodial wallet, and so what happens sometimes, you cannot really prevent people from taking that ordinal and sending it to some address, right? Like you cannot do that, and it's still Bitcoin, right? So like you can send it to any kind of Bitcoin address, and so we have actually had users, unfortunately, even though we had like 2 steps in between, that actually makes it a little bit harder for people to make the mistake. They need to go into the settings and they need to, say, okay, I want to transfer this thing from the ordinals address to the Bitcoin address, etc. Still, like you can do so. And so like we had, unfortunately, some people that were not really educated about ordinals that took that ordinal, send it into the Bitcoin payment address, and then they spent the Bitcoin in the payment address or send it to Binance, for instance. And then basically your ordinal is gone because, first of all, Binance doesn't care about ordinals, so they don't recognize it. They just kind of shuffle it in between 20 different addresses. So it's like super hard to actually get it back, even if you send the Bitcoin back to your wallet right away. And there's just a risk, even if you don't send it to the exchange or to Binance. Still, maybe you make a tiny little transaction, and there is a chance that you're going to spend that specific SAT that, it's inscribed on. And so you're going to lose those orders. And so, again, there is probably not really a perfect solution as a non-custodial wallet. You probably, and Sai, correct me if I'm wrong here because I'm not a technical guy here, but you cannot really prevent users from saying, okay, you cannot send this to this address. You cannot send it from this address. That's something probably that is really, really hard to figure out on the user experience side. But we can definitely do it in a way that it's a little bit more complicated than just one click, so that people need to think before they take that step. And at the same time, obviously, we need to do a lot of education to make sure that people just understand this difference, as Sai mentioned, compared to Ethereum. So, Sai, if you want to comment on this, from the technical point of view, if there is something that we could really do to make it 10x safer, I would love to learn. But that's just something that I can share from my personal experience doing this.
Yeah, so the Ordinal Project client, Ord, actually is one of the most strict pieces of software when it comes to sending sats or Bitcoin around for this very reason. If you say I had an inscription in my Ord wallet, right? And I said, let's send out all of my sats, it will actually refuse to send because it identifies that there's an inscription within that block of sats. And it will refuse until you explicitly say, I do want to send this inscription. And I think that's going to be the protection that a lot of wallets like Xverse, Hero will end up adopting, or at least a means of quickly telling users hey, are you sure that you want to send your really dope lion? Or did you mean to send money alone? And in that case, we can help you by only sending Bitcoin while maintaining ownership of your asset.
Yeah, this is a great point. And, maybe to that point, just to kind of maybe reemphasize, that thing would happen actually with, one of the users that unfortunately lost the ordinal. It actually happened during the reorg of the Bitcoin chain. And maybe that's something that Sai can also comment on, because I think it's an interesting kind of thing that happened and that people just should be aware of, that obviously we're working on solutions, and a lot of companies are trying to solve when it comes to the explorers being down and make sure that it doesn't happen again. But this thing basically happened during the period of time. So it was kind of something that, we were not ready. Basically, I would say none of the wallets was ready for. I mean, probably the Ord wallet maybe had some solution to that. I'm not sure because I wasn't really digging into that. But like most of the wallets basically had that problem when the reorg happened that you couldn't see those ordinals. And because they're essentially Bitcoin, so the wallet couldn't really tell a difference. Like, is it a Bitcoin? Is it inscription? Because the explorers didn't work. And so that's kind of what created the confusion. And some people then, transferred them into the Bitcoin payment. And unfortunately, some users even took the further step and, then send them to the let's say centralized exchange, which was basically the vital mistake there. But yeah, Sai, maybe can you comment on that? How can we prevent this, or how are you kind of, thinking about it, these reorgs and these kind of things that, nobody could really foresee?
Sure, this one starts to get a little more technical than I think we're targeting here, but the simple version is the Bitcoin blockchain is a chain of blocks. There are cases where the most recent block can actually be changed to a different block depending on how the chain develops. This is part of the security model. It's intended behavior. It's not a hack or anything like that. However, if your software doesn't understand or plan for this eventuality, because it will happen, it happens, I'd say a couple times a week, we get a block that gets swapped off of the tip. But if your software doesn't plan for this, it can lead to unexpected behavior where your software goes, oh yeah, this is the current block and I don't know what to do now because we're not actually following this chain that I'm on. In the case of this specific reorg that he's referencing, Ord would have handled this really well because you have your own local index. So you would have still been indexed for all of the inscriptions you already had. Furthermore, you would have, as soon as the immediate block after that was out, you would lose the ability to index. And if you can't index, the Ord will not allow you to send anything at all. So you would end up protected both by having the index for that particular block, and then as soon as that was no longer the chain tip, not being able to index to do the send operation. I'm happy to talk out of band, Jan, if your team would like ways to handle this that don't rely on having a full perfect, index at all times.
Yeah, let's definitely talk offline because, I think this is a super interesting topic. I just wanted to mention this story in a sense, or this situation, because, it goes to my point that, especially if you're entering the space and you're new to this space, don't make any kind of hasty steps, always try to figure out what's really going on, ask a couple people around you and make sure that you kind of think about the fact that, things are not perfect just yet. Right. And so this is just one of the things that I really kind of wanted to make sure that people understand here. But yeah, Sai, let's talk offline. I would love for you to talk to our engineering team and let's make it better.
Yeah, awesome. Let's go. Thanks for that, guys. So just going to, because I'm looking at the time, I just want to be respectful of everyone's time as well. I appreciate you guys all coming up and joining us. We'll stay on for a bit more. If you guys need to drop off, totally understand. Otherwise, we'll go into Q&A. But right before we do, if people want to learn more about Ordinals, where should they go? Obviously, I'm going to be recommending everyone join the Ordinals Discord. Is there any other sources of truth for education that you guys would be go there for more information?
Yeah, I'm going to shell it for Jan, but certainly go and check out the Ordinals Discord for sure. The community's blowing up. There's great resources, and the moderators there are fantastic. So jump in there. And then I'm going to shell it for Jan. Check out the Ordinals show on Twitter. Jan is a co-host there. They have some absolutely fantastic guests that are on top of everything that's happening in the space, along with Jan, Trevor, and Leonidas. They're just pioneering everything, so they're really, really great kind of resource there. So tune into their show. Jan can give you the details and when it's dropping.
Awesome. All right, thanks, guys. And we'll go to Coin Queen. How's it going, Queen?
Great, great. First, I just want to say, Jan, you are a powerhouse, and I'm sure other people up here are. Like, he was like, they were getting awarded at Paris Blockchain Week and jumped into spaces with my community, like, just to kind of help go through the same conversation you're having. So I'm just so impressed with the commitment between experts and Hero. The entire Bitcoin community is coming, like, up hard to show up for all of the ETH, communities that are ready to learn. So bravo, you guys are nailing it. And I'm actually hosting an event with Experts on Thursday. So if anyone wants to come open their first Experts wallet, everyone here is welcome. I'm a Lion. We've been a Lion for years. We have a crypto fund, so we have lions, apes, everybody in our group. But I just wanted to say awesome job. And for everyone that's listening, I feel like there's so much hesitation to participate, and I think everyone will be blown away if they spend 30 minutes, opening an Xverse. It's super easy. It's just like your MetaMask. Don't be scared. And I'm so stoked on the network adoption for Bitcoin. I'm a Bitcoin girl first. So I want everyone in this room opening a wallet with Xverse. It's going to be so rad. I can't wait to hear how all the Lions do it. So Asher, thanks for leading the way and taking charge. I just wanted to say great job, everyone. So impressed.
Always appreciate you coming up, Queen. It's definitely an exciting time. We'll go to Davey next. How's it going, King?
Doing well. Thank you very much. I'm a developer, and this was almost information overload. I'm not used to being around the caliber of intelligence that was thrown down here tonight, so I had a lot of notes. A quick question is this. So I know Xverse is a popular Web3 wallet that we can probably integrate with websites. I want to be able to look in people's wallets and see their NFTs and metadata and pictures, etc. Is there an online discovery service that supports Ordinals yet?
So
yeah, great question.
Oh,
yeah.
On you go, Jan.
Go ahead.
You go, man.
I guess
Okay,
I'll go then.
so just real quick from my side. So, if you want to integrate with Xverse, we have an API I can actually show you. I can send you stuff, afterwards in a DM. And we actually have already seen people doing something similar. So we have seen people building Discord bots, that can look into your wallet. You can sign messages, and basically you can assign roles. And, obviously other kind of functionalities, that people just want in the community, in the NFT community. So that's why we actually created a Bitcoin Wallet API. And obviously, it's an open source project. And, so we want people to contribute to it as well. And we're actually trying to engage the community a little bit deeper to make sure that we can potentially provide some resources for builders as well. And so would love to talk to you about that as well. And Brian, please take it away.
Yeah, definitely. There's some great APIs coming out. Xverse is great with connecting to the wallet and stuff like that. But I just wanted to say, Ordinals itself, the Ordinals index is kind of the source of truth. And the Ord client actually ships with an Explorer. Ordinals.com is actually an Explorer already. And yeah, I guess Cypher doesn't agree with me, but we'll see what he says about that.
Sorry, grumpy old man moment. Source of truth is something we've been railing against the last couple days because we had a lot of people start to rely on ordinals.com as a single source of truth, when that is the exact opposite of what we're trying to accomplish here. We want everybody to be a source of truth. Now, where Brian was 100% correct here was in saying that the Ordinal project software, Ord, does allow you to just launch your own Explorer, which is a full-featured browser and API and database of every inscription and every sat if fully indexed. And that's really powerful. I fully recommend it. There's also Ordinal Hub has one, Hero has one. I believe Xverse was working on an indexer, but I won't commit publicly that that's the case. So there's a lot of tooling that will help you here. Reach out to Jan. If Jan can't give you, the integration path for the 3 most commonly used wallets right now and a couple explorers to reference, reach out to me and I will be happy to sit down, take a half hour and really jam on the development side with you.
I love that so much. I'm going to, the tech stuff is really good. I just want to I mean, that's from my perspective as well. I've got a bit of a programming background, but I know what I don't know. For sure. But I'm curious, if anyone wants to come up, ask questions about ordinals. Doesn't have to be tech questions as well, because I know there's a lot of interest on just some of the more like high level stuff as well. Like, what are some of the marketplaces that people can go to, and where do some of the trades happen, and things like that, which I think is also really good information to know as well. So if anyone would like to come up, request, ask any questions, feel free. Overall, I think I think it's very, we've said this before, and it almost feels cliche, and that's why I'm buckling a bit about it, but it is very early, right? Like, especially so with ordinals. It's a few months in, but that's the exciting part, right? And like with, I will say from Glitch's Army, the general side, which is the 80 lines that will be inscribed on Bitcoin, like, we're going to make it as super simple as possible for those who do get the admin pass and are able to claim those. We're obviously speaking with, there's a lot of really smart people working on this, and the user experience side is getting better. From what I'm seeing is, it feels like it's being worked on in real time, right? It is being worked on in real time. So, if anyone's like listening in and, excited and maybe a little bit nervous about the tech side of all this, like, yeah, it's not as you can hear, it's not a too different experience from Ethereum. Just a few things that need to be kept in mind.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, just to follow up on my last point, I was certainly not recommending anyone use Ordinals.com Explorer, and I think they're running that on a bloody Raspberry Pi, to be honest with you. So, please just don't use that. All I was saying was that, you can rock your own Explorer just by forking the Ord client, and it will be the same one as you see on their website, is all I was saying. And with that said, every project in this space is kind of trying to build their own thing. We have, we are running our own Ord client as well, and obviously we're kind of building our own API. We've built our own indexer. So, Dave, if you go to docs.ordinalsbot.com, that's our API docs, and there you'll find our endpoint for full text search across every ordinal inscription, and also we have this feature called hash check. So basically you can give a SHA-256 hash of any image or file even, and then we'll just quickly tell you how many times that exact byte perfect file has been inscribed, which is a pretty neat feature, I think, in our API. You can even see, if you go to ordinalsbot.com, I even added a little kind of GUI to that, so you can actually upload an image directly and see how many times it's been inscribed. So yeah, there's also Ord API is a really great. They were actually one of the first ones to release their API, so check out Ord API as well. They've got a great suite of endpoints, and it's just like everyone says, the place is just building at rapid speed, and all these things are coming up. You're going to eventually get the ether scan of ordinals, and all these kind of great things are coming. So it's really exciting to see.
Yeah, and just to jump in real quick, guys, I need to give a shout out to Brian because, obviously, he's a close friend, and, we have been working together for a while. But, actually with Ordinals Bot, I personally, was able to inscribe stuff very cheaply, and it just took me 3 clicks inside of the Xverse wallet. And so if you guys are really just even trying to learn about inscriptions and Ordinals, I always encourage anybody, you don't necessarily have to go and buy some expensive stuff, right, on marketplaces. Obviously, if you're into that, and if you have done your research, and if you're really believing in some projects, feel free to do so, but just the fact that you're trying these different tools and you're maybe inscribing just the text, for a couple bucks, or, some very simple images, just that fact will teach you so much about how this all works, what are some of the maybe things that have to be improved, and maybe some of the things that are opportunities in the space that you could potentially build yourself. And we want to hear from all of you guys, right? We want to get that feedback, user experience feedback, and, obviously we need to get better as a collective. So just want to encourage that, go try those tools. It's not crazy expensive, even compared to Ethereum gas fees. It's actually pretty affordable.
I love that so much. And you know what? We typically have, obviously, we've got different channels in the Discord, and we raise them up over different parts. We create for different interests and things like that. We will be creating one for Bitcoin NFTs or Ordinals specifically as well. So, anyone in the Discord, if you want to, feel comfortable, you don't want to jump into other Discords as well, that's totally fine. We can go experience it through together as a community. in the official Lazy Lions Discord as well. So I'll pass it over to Cool Nerd King. How's it going?
Hello, everybody. So I have a really rookie question. I mean, it's super rookie. It might not even have anything to do with what we're talking about, but and it might not even make sense to some of the developers up there. But is this something that we could potentially see cargo packets built that would allow us to maybe like build something like through the Rust language and develop, or is this something that's completely separate?
Sai, you want to take that one?
Okay, I wasn't sure if anybody wanted to take it at a different level, but yes, I'm happy to. So the Ord project itself, the original creator of this protocol, he wrote the reference implementation in Rust. I'm happy to give you that repo. That'd be a good place to start on doing your research on this, as well as I would bet that long-term individual assets will likely be in web languages, JavaScript, WASM, HTML, CSS, all that junk. But the back-end work, a lot of it is being done in Rust. Ordinal Hub just this morning released a new Explorer/API that is an extension of the Ordinals project. Not an extension, that makes it sound like they're associated directly. They released a project that is forking from that, and it allows you to potentially, when they open source their work, really see how you can use Rust to expand upon the existing infrastructure.
Beautiful. Okay, that definitely answers my question. I appreciate that, and it's nice to see everybody out here as well.
Hey, appreciate you, King. Always. And I just want to remind everyone as well who's listening in, if you'd like to come up, definitely feel free to just come up. If you'd rather, just send your question in the chat as well. We're looking at Cabana Bar and general chat. So you can post it in there, and then we'll read them out and answer them live on the stage as well. But we'll go to KT. How's it going?
Fighting the mute button. No, this is fantastic, and I just realized, you put things like Cabana Bar and movements. You getting praise like that from Dave, that's saying something. And I really love the process that you're taking and trying to educate people. I was curious as to what the plans are for helping to educate all of the non-Ordinals native people, I guess is the way to put it. Maybe it's too early for that. But if you had a plan or even some kind of idea on how to get the word out and get it out effectively to help bring more people over. Really curious to see what kind of ideas people had on bringing people in from ETH or from wherever, or from even just the Web 2 world.
Was that for Asha?
That's just I'm throwing it out there as a whole, because I see a lot of really smart people on the stage working in different lanes, all towards the same goal. And I'm just trying to get a good feel, because I want to try to help get people to that point as well, and see who I can either work with or any places that could use a little bit of help.
I can speak maybe broadly. I think that we have a great opportunity here to kind of maybe do it a little bit differently than we did on Ethereum, and since things are building right now, and we're all experienced builders in the space who are building this stuff, but we can maybe be more open-minded to document stuff better as we go along, and I know that our website could seriously do an upgrade in terms of the FAQ and help section and everything. I seem to be answering the same questions over and over again, which is screaming for a knowledge base actually. So I'm really trying to carve out some time to just kind of look through all the support tickets that we have had and just answer these questions and document them. So the knowledge base is coming soon, but this stuff takes a ton of work, time. We're only three people in a team, so but I definitely think that if you have the resources there, then it's just all about getting it documented and getting it educated. And then I think that we had this same issue with Ethereum, right? I didn't know what MetaMask was once upon a time, and you have to read a tutorial and figure that out. So, it takes time to kind of learn this stuff. And I think that all I can say is high level, if you can understand how to buy and sell and trade NFTs on Ethereum, you've got to be totally fine doing this on Bitcoin generally. It's just to bear in mind that it's like doing it at the early days of Ethereum, where you just take that little bit of precaution before you do anything. Just double check, ask questions first before you go on and send ordinals to places. It's just a little bit the UX is just not quite there yet, so just double check what you're doing before you do anything.
I love that so much. I'm just going to add something there, right? Because the type of question that you're asking, it's a really good question as well, right? And it's coming from a place of this is extremely early. And I just want to do a quick check as well. How many ordinals have been inscribed so far? What's the count at? Has it even broken 1 million yet?
No, it's at over 500,000, right? It's in the 500,000.
700,000.
Whoa.
700,000, and there's, like you mentioned before, Si, you did a really great explanation of.
Wait, sorry, I'm wrong. 629,000. Sorry about that.
No worries. There's 100 million satoshis in a Bitcoin, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that is correct.
And there's 21 million Bitcoins, and so far there's only like we mentioned, just over 600,000 inscribed. So just to give everyone listening in, that's how early it is. And if you multiply the two numbers and get an idea of what's possible as well, right? It's that's how early this is in Bitcoin, and Bitcoin obviously isn't going anywhere. So I think that just just another reminder of, again, how early it really is.
I've got a small little fun note on that. These are called ordinals, right? Because they are in order, they're sequential, right? Things are happening in order, so you can basically map it out. If you go to ordinals.com, there's actually a tab on the top called Clock, and Casey built this kind of cool clock, but it's actually the Bitcoin clock. So if you've got that clock, it's not based on any real lifetime, it's based on the actual countdown to the 21 million. So you can see where we are in the current process of things. So I think Sai can probably get more technical on that, but I think that's a really cool visual representation of where we are in terms of how many Bitcoin have been mined and how much time is left. And it's literally I don't know, 50 years left or something, but it's really interesting to see.
That's awesome. We'll go to because there's a few hands. We'll go to Sai, then Nifty, then Coin. That's okay. Thanks.
Oh, perfect. I had seen Queen's hand up, so I was going to wait until after her if she needed to take the stage here.
No, I was going to say, when he said there's 21 million Bitcoin, I was like, well, not yet, but it's still be going mind. And I think I was going to add to that question or the comment saying, how do we help people advance to this? And I think it's an amazing question, because if you've been around Bitcoin for a long time, adding a network adoption is the goal, right? We're still so very much at the beginning of that. So it's an amazing conversation. I think Ordinals has done, whether you're on either side, and I think if you're just entering Ordinals now, you're going to and starting to pay attention to it. And if you start jumping in these Discords and joining the spaces, you're going to hear both sides, where some are happy about it and some are not. And I think the adversity of the conversation is perfect, because it's going to help us define, the value of Bitcoin, how we're supposed to use it. All of this is great. And I think just having these conversations is how hosting these spaces, participating in the Discords, like they said, to the knowledge base, to your experiences. And I think that's where we're at. And it's so exciting to have such a massive group of excitable, humans in the ETH community coming over to dig around in Bitcoin and go, how can we add value here? I love it. It's awesome.
I love that. That is exactly the outlook that I wish everybody could have. Whether we disagree or not, I want people to enjoy the conversation, because we're all building something awesome. I say this all the time in regards to Bitcoin. It is our collective blockchain. I own a copy, you own a copy, it is ours. It's not mine. I don't get, as much as I try to be a grumpy old man and say, let's do things this way. No, that's not how Bitcoin works. If you want to do something that is radically outside what I agree with, that's what a permissionless network is about, is that you can tell me to go pound sand. And I don't get a choice in it. As to KT's question, Brian really hit all the core points. as a developer, I don't make YouTube videos. I don't really do a lot of like influencer type stuff. But what I can do is if you ever need a technical viewpoint to help you communicate this to people, reach out. I will 100% sit down with anybody who is educating people, because that is a vital part of what we're building here. I know me and Post Capone, he's not in here today, we spent, for all of February, each of us was spending at least 12 hours a day in the Discord just teaching these brand new, fresh off the boat degens to our ecosystem how to run nodes. I mean, we were setting up, it had to be tens, if not hundreds of nodes a day, where people would just come in and be like, hey, I don't know how to do this one specific thing. And we took people who weren't technologically savvy, didn't know anything about Bitcoin, and now one of them's running her own podcast related to Ordinals. She's potentially running a consultant company is kind of what the vibe I was getting last time we talked. And it's insane to see these people come in who are not Bitcoiners, who now some of them have more knowledge, awareness, and contribution in the form of educating others than people who have been in Bitcoin for 10 years. And that is what I would love to see, because it means that we're growing.
Yes, I can't agree enough. It's all so good, and no matter whether people are mad or happy about it, I'm like, I don't care. Bring your opinion. Just bring the attention, bring the opinion, and participate. It's awesome.
Nifty, you have been waiting for too long, and you have On-Chain Monkey as well, so please go ahead.
Hey, buddy. Thank you, Rise. I have a question. So I just inscribed some PNG files. I've since filled out the application to name the collection, which, is a whole process in itself. My question is, for anybody who will know, is will I be able to individually name each one of those inscriptions?
Are you using Gamma?
I inscribed on Gamma, and I filled out the application on Gamma, yes.
Anyone else is welcome to jump in, but I've done a lot of events with Gamma this month, and if it's an ordinal collection, if you're doing not Bitcoin NFTs, which are on Stacks L2, those you have a lot more flexibility and description and name. But if you did ordinals and then you requested the collection page, and then those, you're going to put all of those long IDs of each of those ordinal inscriptions into that box, you do not name them. It'll be like if you called your collection Nifty, then you would have Nifty number 1, Nifty number 2. I don't know what they're working on, and maybe someone on the stage does, as far as making that more modifiable with their no code tools. But you can always jump in their Discord and ask them. But directly when you do it, it's just going to go Nifty number 1, Nifty number 2.
Gotcha.
I think on a high level, there's just no smart contract, right? There's actually no connection between even this Nifty name and the inscription itself. So that's a kind of out of bound thing that we are just adding to this, and it kind of opens up the question of like what are collections on ordinals, which is a hot topic at the moment. There's a lot of discussion going on in the GitHub about how to actually do that, and there's some really good one which I think is coming along, which is like this parent-child inscription thing, which I think is really exciting. So that's going to be pretty neat. But in terms of giving these things a name, you can't really even do that with Ethereum. Like you've got a base URL. You can't really, unless you build into the smart contract specifically, you can't really give each one an individual name. And it's certainly going to be possible to do that with inscriptions directly on ordinals. But as I say, it's really early, so we'll see how the collection thing advances and progresses over time as the parent-child thing comes and becomes more of a standard. Potentially there comes then a metadata standard on top of that, where you can essentially do these things and give them more customization. But similar to Gamma, we also have our Launchpad, and we do a similar process where you fill out a form, and then we essentially just assign this list of inscription IDs to this particular collection ID, and then that collection ID can have a name, a description, a Twitter, and everything. But it's really an off-chain thing.
Gotcha. So when I filled out the application, I copy and pasted each ID and then I numbered them 1 through like 11. And then I wrote what I wanted to name each one of those inscriptions. So that's absolutely not going to happen, correct?
As far as I'm aware, yeah, on Gamma, you just basically they don't show it as a they don't show it as a collection, or they show it as a collection, but there's no name. It's just an inscription. But again, there's when you get it on a marketplace, potentially they can show something different. I'm not sure, but yeah, if you want to individually name your things, I think it's got to be difficult at this point. But as I say, the technology will advance over time.
Thanks a lot, everybody. Good stuff. Let's keep rolling. Love it. I suffer from ordsomnia because I've just that's all I do is just click on to any video, jump into any space, just trying to learn as much as possible. So thank you all for educating us. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you, mate. We'll go to Sai and then Addo right after that.
Yeah, I just wanted to expand on what Brian was saying there. Currently, everything that he said is correct for this moment in time. It's important to understand, though, Gamma launched their marketplace a week ago, less. I mean, it's very fresh. I would expect if they asked you for individual inscription names, that they are probably planning on using them in the front end and just haven't had time to build that out yet. I mean, anybody doing development work in this space has been working nonstop for over 2 months now. So you can only build so fast. The fact that they have a marketplace this quickly is insane. The fact that Magic Eden pivoted over and dropped a marketplace so quickly is insane. So, yeah, right now, not every marketplace is going to respect your names for your individual inscriptions. I would expect as standards develop and evolve, we'll see a metadata format where you will be able to name inscriptions, reference the parent and child relationships if they're not stored on chain, which is coming with the provenance feature of Ord coming, I believe, this week. So it's going to be a moment before we have all of this in place, but it's coming. And I know it's coming because people like you are asking for it, and that's all we have to get developers motivated to build stuff. Because the last thing we want to build as developers is something that nobody wants, because that's the biggest waste of time on planet Earth.
Yeah, absolutely. There's nothing more motivating than 10,000 degens screaming at you non-stop in every channel on your Discord for something. So, that's, we love it. Go ahead, putting it.
Yeah. Addo, King, we'll go to you next.
Yo, may I? Lazy chilling, guys. How you doing? Hi, guys. Thanks for the stage. I'm really so excited about all of this. So I actually started already, doing it. And I really try to, to catch up you guys. But sometimes it goes so fast and I'm kind of high all the time. So it's, really hard to follow all the things. And the thing is, I'm not a technical guy, but I'm a kind of gamer, and my gaming skills help me to do and understand some stuff on the blockchain, so that's kind of thing how I learn all the stuff and do all the stuff and, but I already did a wallet. I heard Nifty was quite farther away from me. I just made a wallet. So I just made a wallet on ordinalswallet.com and then I got confused. That was the easy part, is the seed phrase and all the things. But then I see the collection, activity, and inscriptions. And is it possible to make one NFT and not the whole collection? And when I want to make a collection or I don't know, I didn't catch up where to go, actually. There is here some Discord, but I don't know if I'm even on the good wallet right now.
Well, I can comment.
Sai, take it away. I cannot talk about this topic.
Yeah, you mind if I go, Brian?
Yeah, sure. Go.
Yeah, I'm pretty well known for my dislike for Ordinals Wallet, so this is a trigger for me. One, awesome on you for going and just jumping in. I will never badmouth anybody who's just diving in and trying to learn things and doesn't have all of the information that we've dumped into our brains for the last 2 months. With that said, please, for all that is holy, switch to anything that is not Ordinals Wallet. Use Xverse, use Hero Wallet, use Unisat. Just Please
Jesus, I'm so
not
lucky.
Ordinals
From
Space.
all the things what I can choose, I choose like the shittest thing. Okay, not Ordinal wallet. So where to find any? Can you guys like put a pin somewhere? Top wallets, pin like marketplaces, or how to make like one? And what are all those numbers? I get you guys make the codes and all the shit. Can you make smileys or something? Because like I see like some pictures and I see someone has like only codes on it. What are those?
Yeah, so you can actually inscribe any kind of data to these things. We've seen at the beginning it was a lot of images, and now we've seen a lot of people doing text data, which is literally just actual text. You can do video files, audio files, literally anything. Someone actually inscribed a full copy of Doom, the game, which you would probably like being a gamer. Someone inscribed that into an Ordinal, which is really incredible. Like, you can actually play it in the Explorer. It's insane. So yeah, in terms of just trying things out, there's inscription services like ours. You can just go and just try something. There's different wallets out there that you can use as well. I think I'll try and pin a tweet. Leonidas actually made quite a neat video using Xverse in our service, and it was like 10, 20 seconds he was inscribing thing. So I'll try and pin that, but I can hand it over to someone else to maybe give some more points on it.
Yeah, just quickly, please go to my profile, click on Xverse. You're going to be able to find all the information, and if you have any questions, please DM me. I'm more than happy, to answer any questions when it comes to the onboarding process. I'm not just trying to promote our wallet. Obviously, I want you to use our wallet. But yeah, I actually agree with Sai. Go try, many other wallets. Go search for people, what they're recommending, look at different reviews, and ultimately choose what works for you, right? Every wallet is going to be suited for a different user. But yeah, if you need any help with Xverse, I'm here for you guys. So feel free to DM me, man.
I love that. Adder, King, props to you for going and checking it out. I will say, from Lazy Lion's point of view, when we get to the actual min passes for the 80 ordinals, the generals themselves, we will have an announcement with the recommendations on what to use, how to get them, and because it is a smaller amount as well, you'll have everyone will have Discord support tickets, ourselves as a team to help walk you through that whole process as well. But I think what we can also do is we'll put together some docs, and we'll put it into that channel that I was referring to. We'll create an Ordinals channel, and then we'll put in some docs there that people can look at that and discuss it all together. So, but again, King, props to you for already looking into it.
No, thank you for the stage, guys. Great. I love the info. It's like starting all over again. It's like Web3 from the start. Something new. Let's go.
Always
Lazy
Awesome. And we've got Pixelsaurus. How's it going?
Hey, it's going well. Yeah, I just going to take a little 20-second break here from the questions because I just wanted to throw some praise your way, guys. I mean, I just wanted to start off by saying I really applaud the innovation. I think it's absolutely fantastic. I mean, the word that keeps coming up in this space and the previous one as well is excitement. And I think wherever there's innovation in the NFT space, there's excitement. And I just want to say, it really genuinely feels like the start of something really exciting. And I think, to put yourself at the front of that queue, it is just amazing. I mean, not just for the project, but for the holders as well. And you've got a lot of people sitting up and paying attention and watching you. Projects too. I think there's a few projects in the audience too. And we're all watching here. And as I say, I really appreciate what you're doing here. I'm going to be wishing you all the best. I'm going to be along for the ride. I'm going to be getting involved this evening. It's going to be very late UK time. Or rather, I think it's about midnight tonight, but I'm going to be up, make sure the kids are asleep, but I'm not going to miss it for the world. I just want to say I'm so, grateful to be part of this community. It's, a community that I joined back in September of 21, one of the first communities I joined, actually, and you guys have always been so welcoming, and, just want to say, fantastic to be part of it. So all the best. I'll shut up now and go down to listeners.
Always appreciate you, King, and yeah, thank you for the nice words. And with that, I'll just sing that the praise to all the speakers who have come up as well. Everyone's working on some really really cool things, and I know how hectic it is especially during this time when it is also very new as well. So for taking the time out and coming in and helping bring awareness and a bit of education as well. Totally appreciate you guys. So yeah, and Pixelsaurus, thanks so much. Feel free to stay up, King, if you like. I'm going to bring up Shiver King and Executin, and then we'll go to KT, who's got his hand up. What's going on, King? Unless if I'm wrong, I can't hear KT at the moment.
Yeah, I cannot hear anything either. I think.
Oh, I thought you were talking to. I thought you went to Shiba King. My bad. My question is really simple. When might we look forward to another space like this? I've been talking to a couple of people in the DMs, and every one of us said the same thing. The level of information and intelligence in this space is astronomical, and simply being here, listening to the conversations alone, is raising our overall education level significantly. I'm just curious if this might be something regular, or at least potentially, where we can start having these really heady conversations to help advance the entire space.
I can't speak for Asher. I'm sure they're going to do a ton of great content and coming up to introducing you guys to Ordinals. But again, I'd love to shout out Jan. Jan is your man, and he's a co-host of the Ordinals show. So I would certainly check it out. And I want to learn more about you, and you're wearing a kilt in your profile photo, and that's awesome because I'm Scottish, and I want to find out why you're wearing a kilt. So yeah, I mean, if you have any questions about Ordinals or how to get started, anyone can also jump into my DMs as well. I'm happy to take the time and talk to people. So
awesome, thank you very much, everybody in the listeners. You heard it right there. If you have a question, ask. Don't sit and wait.
Yeah, definitely ask any questions you have. There's spaces full of so many people who are happy to help, and many of us have been taking time out of what we would be doing otherwise to fully devote to this new ecosystem. With that said, I don't usually shill things, but 8 p.m. or 6 p.m. PST tonight, there will be a space with me, Post Capone, D++, I believe Isabel, who's the community manager, or I don't know if that's the correct job title, for the Ordinals project itself. That one will probably become very technical, knowing D++ and Post. They're both at or above my level. So if you're interested in that side of things, definitely recommend jumping in. Otherwise, the Ordinals show that Jan helps co-host is probably a better resource if you don't want to be involved in the technical side.
So, yeah, I would second the Ordinal show. Sorry, I would definitely second the Ordinal show. And I pinned up at the top, Xverse is hosting an event on Thursday at noon. I'm hosting it, but Xverse is going to do it to help open your first Xverse wall and just ask all the questions. It could be technical or not. So everyone's welcome to join that.
So real quick, to further this discussion, if anybody who hosts spaces wrapped around this topic could please let me know. I'll add you to our growing list so everybody can see what spaces are being hosted, who's hosting them, and what the topics are over on the website. So please let me know, and I'll get you guys added up to our VIP list. Jan, I'm adding you right now, and Asher, and Buff as well, so we can see if we can get some more people and learn about what we're doing.
100%. First of all, appreciate the shout out, guys. But, there's so many other and smarter people than myself. And, I'm definitely sure, Side, is there any kind of list, I even know, Paz is doing, a great YouTube channel on setting up nodes and doing all these different things. Is there actually any list of all these people? Side, do you know of anything? Is it in the Ordicord or is it somewhere else?
There is no official list. There's a few people who have built lists that are good. The problem is things have grown so insanely fast that even those of us that are living and breathing it no longer know everything that's happening, which is kind of the goal, right? Like, if it's small enough for one person to know everything, then it's not big enough yet.
Love that. I mean, King, we'll definitely have that channel up as well. And, like the community, there are always community-run spaces being held throughout the week. They get really good audiences as well. And I know they chat about various things as well. So I'll definitely give a shout-out to the community-run spaces as well. Can find more information about those in the Discord. But always good to have you up, King. We'll go to Shiva King next, and then Execution after that.
Oh, what's going on? Good morning. I saw the space. I had to stop in before I did my space in a little bit. But a few things, man. I'm excited for tonight. I got the liquid ready for the mint. I'll be literally in the midst of bowling, so hopefully I get some reception while I'm in there. But, man, I'm really excited for it. When it comes to finding the lazy lion spaces, here's some alpha. Just follow Woozy. He doesn't miss a single space. Like, if I get home and I'm like, if there's any lazy lion spaces going on, Woozy's in them. And shout out to the Lazy Captain hats and the Lazy Zombies. Those are the two spaces that I hit this week. So it was really dope to see a lot of people in there. Both the spaces, I think, had over 100 listeners when I was paying attention to how many people there were. Even jumping in here, I think I just added like 20 or 30 more lines. I have no idea where you guys are coming from, but it amazes me to see it go the other way. We see a lot of people sell these bigger projects and degen and go into these smaller ones, and it kind of like spreads out the liquid, right? And it's something that we've been experiencing. So I think we're starting to see a lot of these big cap NFTs lose a lot of their value because people are selling those now. But now we're seeing a reverse back into like lazy lines because of what they got going on. And I think right now they're one of the leading projects when it comes to this year, at least starting off the year really well with this news and this drop. So, and also it's going to add a lot of new members. It did really well for like Killer Bears and their ecosystem onboarding new members. I think it gives people a chance to get involved with the system that goes on with rewarding people and being part of the whole ecosystem overall. But just excited for the space. Just want to say what's up. Good morning and shout out everybody. Happy to see everybody here. And look forward to what comes next after this mint. I'm winning myself a lazy line. That's all I know. I want to have one of those Bitcoin lazy lines. If it have to play the game for 7 hours straight, Asher. I'm ready, baby.
Hey, love that. You and a few others as well, so there'll definitely be a little bit of competition. But King, always good to have you up. I mean, the response to the response from the community, outside the community, to Glitch's army, like that that's the big thing. Like, to be honest, regardless of how the mint goes, obviously there's a ton of attention on it, but that really is that, I tweeted this out yesterday, but we all want and need like a high bar of quality from Lazy Lions, right? Like, that's really the standard that we want to hold ourselves to, because there's been a ton of good reaction to like the thought and creativity behind the drop, and how it's linked to Ordinals and the backstory, and it's definitely the most complex contract that we've ever deployed, and I think probably one of the more complex ones that I've ever seen in the space. Not necessarily that's a good or bad thing, but it's it's all come together to make this work. So I appreciate the note, King, and it's definitely going to be exciting. I mean, we've got 8 hours left till it goes live on OpenSea. But King, appreciate you coming off. We'll go to Execution.
Hello, everybody. So I'm a neophyte to this Bitcoin ordinal space, but I am super, super intrigued by it, and I've already shot Sai a little message in Discord, let him know that I want to be part of the whole blockchain experience, and I want to be able to kind of help in whatever way possible. So I'm hoping to be part of that. Secondly, to show you what kind of neophyte I am, I went to inscribe one of our projects, and I put it under my Bitcoin address instead of the ordinal address. So Xverse has already answered my question as far as they're going to be coming out with something to be able to transfer it from that Bitcoin address to the ordinal address. That being said, I want to open up another wallet because they told me not to touch that wallet. So I guess my question is, what would be the best course of action there? Because I heard Sai saying, please, for the love of God, do not open up an Ordinals wallet. So I'm looking and I see like Exodus. So what do I need to do to be able to still be able to open another wallet to where I can kind of transact without touching my Xverse until Xverse was able to come out with a way for me to transfer my ordinal to the ordinal address.
So just real quick, I'm going to jump in here, Sai, and then you can obviously comment further. So I'm actually going to save you a lot of trouble here. It's basically when I meant, and I don't know if I was the one answering your question in the DMs, but basically you should not touch that specific address that you sent that ordinal to. What you can do with Xverse, which is another kind of, I would say, 10x UX improvement there, is you can actually go to your account and you can just with one click create another Bitcoin address or even Ordinals address. It's going to be under the same app, under the same seed. It's basically the same as if you go to MetaMask and you create another account. So it works exactly the same. So you can do that inside Xverse. And exactly like we're going to come out with the tool probably in the next 24 to 48 hours. We were actually supposed to launch it last week Friday, but we had some things that we had to further test to make sure that it's top notch. And so probably tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, the tool is going to be live. And so if you need to do stuff with your Bitcoin, if you want to inscribe other ordinals, you can just create another account in Xverse and you will be good to go. Happy to go deeper into this if you struggle with it. It's just literally one click. So happy to help you in DMs as well.
Yeah, I saw that, and I didn't know if that would mess anything up. Because I do have another account because one of the things that was suggested is have your Bitcoin on one account, have your ordinal on another account. So I guess I saw where I can make another account, but I didn't know if y'all didn't want me to touch the wallet at all. So I'm glad you put it up.
No, we just don't want you to touch that BTC that is mixed. Let's say if you have that BTC payment address and you send an ordinal by mistake there, we just don't want you to touch that specific BTC because, again, you would be risking losing that ordinal. But if you create another account and you send Bitcoin into that, or you create another account and you use just the ordinal address there, you're totally fine. So you don't have to be worried about that. There's no bug or anything in Xverse. We're just telling you this because we want you to be super safe and we want you not to lose that ordinal by accident or something. So, for that reason, I just told you not to touch that BTC and that specific address.
Gotcha. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Awesome. We'll get to Sai.
Yeah, I think Jan pretty much covered it. I was just going to say, if you are concerned, I would rather get a million DMs of people who just want me to confirm that they're not doing something crazy than one person lose an asset. So shoot me a message on Discord. I will sit down and look at your specific case. We'll use Xverse since you're already using it. At least it's not Ordinals wallet. And we'll get you set up and going. We'll solve whatever the problem is. It probably is not a problem. It's probably just something that wasn't communicated well, which happens. We're all going a million miles a minute. It wouldn't be surprising if they said something like, don't spend the UTXO containing the inscription, and that translated to, don't touch the wallet.
Yeah, we didn't say that. Don't worry, Sai. Because our customer service team is not that sophisticated in this regard. To be talking about UTXOs, but definitely no. I really appreciate your input and the fact that you want to help out. Again, I owe you so much. We definitely have beers in Miami for the Ordinals conference, and anyways, guys, feel free to shoot DMs to me, right? I'm here for you anytime. I check my DMs all the time. Yes, there is maybe a chance that I will miss one if they don't go directly into my main inbox, but I need to go into that other inbox and then accept the message. So sometimes I may miss it, but I definitely check that on a regular basis. So feel free to message me anytime, please.
No, I will say that Xverse is. I want to commend y'all because it was. I sent a DM and within minutes I was answered. So I appreciate that. And Sai. Please don't forget, I do want to be a part of whatever the project is that to where I can help out on the chain itself. Kind of give me a chance to work with y'all.
In that case, please shoot me a DM on Discord. If you already have, it may have fallen off the endless list of DMs, so ping me again to move yourself back to the top of the list if I haven't responded to you.
Hey, that's awesome, man. It's like thanks for sending out that offer to everyone as well. So guys, get into the Discord. Also to know that there's that kind of support. We've had a few questions just come in through Twitter and Discord that I'll answer, but just being respectful of everyone's time. It's been a great space. Get a lot of good feedback. If anybody does need to drop off, totally understand. Appreciate your time. Let us know. Otherwise, from our perspective, we're happy to keep going for a little bit more. Just considering the amount of questions coming in, and the space is going really well. So I'll go into some of the questions that we got outside of this. So
can I just jump in real quick? Sorry about that. Really, I don't want to disturb that conversation, but I unfortunately have to jump, guys. I actually have a call to attend in 2 minutes. It has been amazing hanging out with you. Thank you so much for organizing, and thank you so much for all the love for Xverse. What I'm gonna do actually, even today before I go to bed, I promised you guys the FAQs for Xverse and everything, wallets and even inscriptions and how you can do it with Xverse. I'm gonna send it to you guys. You can share it with your community if that's gonna help make things and your life easier. And obviously, guys, feel free to message me. It's actually almost, 11 midnight here. So I'm probably going to be, going to bed in 1 to 2 hours. But when I wake up tomorrow in the morning, if you have any questions, I'm going to be answering them. So please DM. And also, one last thing I'm going to say, if you use Xverse and if you're going to get your Bitcoin Lions, I want to see them on my feed. So please go and tag me, and I want to give you some love afterwards. Okay. So that's the deal, guys.
Hey, appreciate you so much, and thanks for spending the time here, educating everyone, and that FAQ, the help talk, that'll be really, really good as well. And if anybody else needs to jump up as well, I mean, we've almost gone into 2 hours, but I appreciate you so much for joining us. So some of the offline questions that we got, just in terms of how will it work, redeeming the Ethereum OpenSea NFT that's being minted to the Ordinals. So if you do win, there's essentially 3 collections. There's 2 on Ethereum, and there's going to be 1, not collection, but obviously the Ordinals themselves on Bitcoin. So the first collection is Glitch's Army Dark Energy. That's the open edition mint. That's going live in 8 hours. The first hour is split into 2 parts. Half an hour is a free claim for full set holders. Full set is an OG Lazy Lion and 2 matching cubs. So you'll get 1 free claim per full set in that wallet. That'll be the first half hour. The second half hour is open to any Lazy Lion, Cub, and Bungalow holder. They'll get a discounted rate. So the price is 0.021 ETH per open edition, and there's a 21% discount. There's 21 million Bitcoins max. So that's a bit of the logic there. So that mint price, 30 minutes, will be open to all Lazy NFT holders. Unlimited mint during that period. Then there's a public open edition mint that's going on for 24 hours. That'll be from 11 a.m. PT. Sorry, no, I got that time wrong. 5 p.m. PT later today. 8 p.m. ET. That's when it goes. That's the public sale. 4 p.m. PT, 7 p.m. ET is when it kicks off for the eligible Lazy NFT holders. And that goes on for, so that whole minting period is 25 hours. That's the first collection. If you happen to win one of the Ordinals, you'll get a mint pass on Ethereum. That'll happen automatically. And then post this event, we're going to, we'll be sending out instructions on the official Twitter page. You can see it. It's got the business tag on it as well, and then in the official Discord. There'll be a page where you can go to, and you'll be able to exchange this mint pass and give your Bitcoin wallet details. And then, depending on the provider that we choose, because everybody's building in real time right now, as you guys can hear from the conversation as well, and there's a lot of really cool stuff being built. We're going to go with the most easiest and simple user experience for the winners of those Ordinals. And then you'll redeem those mint passes, you'll get the Ordinals in your wallet, and then, we'll help walk you through all of it. And, as you guys all heard today in this space, there's a ton of help and resources out there as well. We're going to do our best to collect that and then provide that with you all. So that's how it'll work high level. The other question was, do you need to use your holder's wallet? So whichever wallet holds the eligible NFTs for that first hour period, yes, that's what you'll have to use. And we are doing them in sequences because that's how the OpenSea drop works. So first half an hour, to the full set holders, you need to use the eligible wallet. Once that's done, it's done, then it goes on to the next half hour, and then once that's done, again, it goes in waves. And then what happens to dark energy if you don't win an ordinal? Tying into the story, obviously dark energy is a powerful thing, and right now Glitch is super focused on using that to free his generals to kick off Glitch's army. But that being said, there may be potentially future things that it is being used for. So just tying into the lore, those are the questions that we got. If you want to send any other questions, you don't want to come up on stage, totally cool. We're looking at the Discord. Feel free to send them in. Otherwise, we'll go to Shiva King. How's it going?
Yeah, 2 questions. Part 1 was, I'm guessing I have to send my 1 cub to my minting wallet where I'm minting these NFTs too, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
They're going to be in the same wallet. And sorry, King, just as well, we're going to be taking, the snapshot is going to be taken after this space. So, we did mention it'll be closer to the mint. So, I would just say, if you be ready for it. We extended that snapshot. It was actually a couple days ago, but we had community feedback. And so, hey, let's push that back. So we have, but it does have to be a snapshot, though, because it's not automatic the way the drop works.
Okay, got it. And then, how does Shiba join Glitch to be a general?
So by minting dark energy, there are a few ways that you can win the ordinals. Number 1 is the top 40 who have the most dark energy at the end of the experience. So there'll be 25 hours of the minting, and then another 24 hours where you can still play the game, the mini game, and you can still also buy off of the secondary market, so off of OpenSea. So you can still accumulate dark energy that way. And then at the end of that period, whoever has the top 40 who have the most dark energy, they will automatically get the ordinal. So your dark energy will be taken away, and then you'll be given the general's mint pass on Ethereum, which you can exchange for the ordinal later. There are a few other ways. So you can play the mini game against Glitch. It's high stakes, so you could lose dark energy. It could give you dark energy. It could give you an ordinal. There are 19 dedicated there. There's one that hasn't been revealed yet as to how that'll come. Anyone outside of the top 40, there'll be 10 spots that'll be randomly given away. And then we also left 10 for the Lazy Lions, specifically for holders. So 4 will be given to Lazy Lion holders, regardless if you have Open Edition. 4 will be given to full set holders, regardless again, but you have to hold through the mint. And then we're saving 2 for future initiatives and giveaways. So again, that was part, it was just the 3 to begin with, but we had community feedback, and obviously community is king. So that, we changed that to also, so everyone has a chance of participating. I will say after the space as well, we're going to be posting up the DAP, which is where you play the mini game. It's also got the FAQ. The FAQ is on the OpenSea page. All the information that you need as well as there. And if curious or any other questions, jump into the Discord. We've got moderators, the whole team, everyone there as well. But good questions, King. Cheers. So that's about the drop. Just going back to ordinals in general. If anyone wants to come up and ask questions, feel free to. Otherwise, I think we may start to look at wrapping the space up. I will take it back to the speakers. I guess if there's just a question looking at the future of this of ordinals, what is? I guess I'll just ask that. What do you think the future holds for Bitcoin ordinals?
It's a really difficult question to answer. It's that's the most exciting part about all of this. We don't actually know. We can only look at the trends that we've seen happen that kind of play out on Ethereum. Massive adoption of collections. A lot of people, launching their own things. Celebrities getting involved, and then it just goes parabolic like that. We're seeing that curve already kind of play out there. So potentially, in terms of digital assets and collectibles and collections and communities, we'll probably see the same kind of a trajectory play out. We're already seeing similar things like protocols being built on top. I mean, in inverted commas, protocols in terms of the SATS name thing. But it is kind of like a comparison to ENS. It's a step forward for digital identity on Bitcoin. And so you see what that evolves as well, and what kind of other protocols can be built. I think it's got to be things that we can't even imagine. There might be, very niche, specific use cases L2s that get built, which are kind of backed up by Ordinals. We're using roll-ups and things. Just a ton of exciting prospects, because it is the kind of most decentralized data layer on the internet, which is something people want to tap into. So I'm just personally excited to see where all this goes, and what people are building on there. And I think it's just a new exciting frontier. I think there's got to be a lot of cool things that we can't even imagine.
Yeah, I think you've kind of really touched on it, that any one person trying to predict this is taking a wild shot, but I'm willing to take that shot. So as somebody who's been involved in a lot of the early experimentation of things that we're inscribing, whether that's a full-featured Apple One emulator that literally loads off of other inscriptions to load tapes. For those of you who aren't old enough, the Apple One loaded software off of tapes, not floppy disks. But I've recreated that inside of inscriptions. I think you'll start to see a lot of these experiments where it's not so much, one, art is going to experiment. Don't want to undermine any artists. You guys are awesome. You make the world go round. But I think you're going to see developers experiment first. They're going to start building these things that seem ridiculous, but open up a whole new innovation where we can effectively have a decentralized web operating inside of the Bitcoin blockchain, including software stacks. We've already reviewed the idea of having if you will, imagine like NPM, except that all of the software, including the package manager itself, is on the blockchain. It's a terrible idea, but the developers who are in this love these sort of terrible ideas, so we're building it. And I think long-term you'll see the applied / practical cryptography making people's lives better by, making sure their assets are actually secured and fully owned by them, by moving them to a chain that, in my opinion, is the best option for probably the next couple of years at the least, if not until, 2140. So I'm excited. That's kind of the synopsis or summary of all of that. I am very excited for all of you to come in here and build weird ass shit so we can make this the coolest space in not Web 3, because we're not truly Web 3 even. We're different weird Bitcoin stuff.
Love that. That's thanks so much, guys. I think I did want to look at being respectful of everyone's time and closing it up, but we do have 2 hands up as well. So if you guys don't mind, then maybe we'll just we'll get those questions in as well. But totally understand if anybody needs to drop off as well. Raymond, we'll go to you, and then we'll go to Coins after.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Thanks for having me up so late. I'll keep it kind of quick. I do believe in the ordinal future here. I think we are super early. So many people don't even have a wallet, to let alone know that there's a separate ordinal address, So, I dropped a little collection for the Rega Apes. We're already on ETH. We have like 1,800 holders. So I wanted to give them sort of early opportunity to sort of get some early inscriptions, which it's so early that none of the community even is into ordinals yet. They're still starting to hear about it. So I think one thing that Bitcoin was lacking, maybe I'm just early to the chain, so I'm not sure, but I feel like there's not so many communities here. So that was one thing I was looking to bridge over, was sort of bring community and sort of onboard a lot of people, because it's Big Daddy Bitcoin, baby. What's better than that? You know what I mean?
That's the most exciting thing. I mean, you're talking about thousands of projects, each with thousands of community members who have never even looked at Bitcoin, don't even know what a Bitcoin wallet is. That's what I'm talking about earlier with this retail wave that's coming in. It's going to be nothing but net positive for Bitcoin, from network adoption to UX to just publicity. The network effects are going to be absolutely amazing. And we're already seeing quite a bunch of Ethereum projects basically coming to us and asking, hey, can you assist us, like help us inscribe this stuff? So if you're a project and you want some help with that kind of thing, just reach out to us in DMs, Ordinals Bot Twitter account, and then we'll be happy to kind of help you out.
Nice, bro. I love that. By the way, I don't have a lazy lion yet, but they're definitely on the list, man. I love this project, bro.
Hey, love that. Just looking at the reacts as well. Hey, everybody else in the space loves that too. I appreciate you, man. I mean, great chance with the open edition that's coming up too. But yeah, thanks for coming up, Coins. How's it going?
Hello, everybody. Nice to meet you. I'm catching the end of the space. I'm sorry, I don't know how long it's been going on, but I saw all things Ordinals, and I wanted to jump in here, and I saw up on the Jumbotron what Bruff Star pinned. I've only been using Gamma since I've personally been inscribing. I was wondering if you like Bruff Star more than Gamma, or if you could compare them. That's my question.
I can give some colour to that as well. I'm a huge fan of Gamma, and Jamil, I've knew the guys for over 2 years now, so I've got huge respect for everything that the guys are doing. And it's a solid team there. We offer something a little bit different. We're coming at it more from a developer and a kind of UX point of view, where literally just inscribe things with us pretty easily, and launch collections with us. So there's kind of a lot of things happening in the space, and yeah, I would basically kind of recommend everyone tries out everything and see what ones are doing things better. To have loads of feedback, and then we can basically all try and grow together. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And I also want to ask one more question, because I've yet to really find an Ordinals Space, but this is something that I've been thinking about as I've been collecting Ordinals, and I'm just curious, do you guys find a rarity in Ordinals that are inscribed onto 2009 Satoshis, or do you personally not care, or do you think it's like me? I think it's a pretty cool collector's piece artifact. So I'm just curious if anybody feels the same way.
I'd love to take a crack at both of those questions, actually. So first, comparing Gamma to any other inscription service, I'm this weird hybrid maxi degen thing, so I will say I don't like them because there's a trustful or custodial component. But with that said, any inscription service that gives you your asset at a reasonable price or with a minimal or no extra fees attached, they're doing you a service. And I may complain about how it's done or the technical aspect, but as long as you're getting your inscription and you're happy with it, it's none of my business, because it's a permissionless network. That's the whole point. That's why we're here. Now, having said that, you asked, do we view, or we individually, so I guess, do I view, to be very specific, the age of a sat as being substantial to the value? Or say let's expand this even. Let's say, do I think that something under 10K has inherent value in the first 10,000 inscriptions? I would argue instead that all of these have value to somebody. And it's going to be really subjective. What I consider valuable, what I think is currently the single most valuable inscription in existence, is in the 150,000 range.
Okay, cool.
But I'm heavily biased because, I'm approaching this for different reasons. Some people will look at things under the 10K and say, these are the way. Nolish, he's the premier hunter of rare sats. He would tell you that getting sats that are abnormal or rare is the way. Specifically, he's inscribing on the oldest known sats that were traded by Satoshi himself to someone else to pay a small bet. That's insanity, but it's so fun and so cool. So I would argue that I would agree to a certain extent with his valuation. And I say all of that to say, if you're coming into the ecosystem and you want to create something that has value, worry less about what other people think, and instead inscribe what has value to you on sats that have value to you for reasons that have value to you. Because at the end of the day, it's a collective ecosystem. And if you like it, I guarantee there's someone else on planet Earth who probably likes it as well. And you guys could find a way to bond over that.
I love that so much. Like that's because like that's the way we're seeing it as well. Because we have we've had questions about like, oh, like is it a low inscription number? It's like the way we're seeing the utility of this and the provenance as well. It's like, I mean, first off, it's gonna be the first one from Lazy Lions, and obviously like the brand and the community, and how much passion there is, and obviously it's in the Web3 space, early days, but this is going to be the first foray onto the Bitcoin network, and there's only 80 of them as well, and they're part of the law with the generals. But I think another thing that's like unseen about or not spoken too much about is like, and the fact that there's only 80, yes, but these are going to be super, super cool collectible items. I mean, they're on Bitcoin forever, and they're definitely like they're still profile photos like the rest of them as well. So I don't know, it's going to be cool. Just a reminder, like it's going to be really cool to see these all on social media and on Twitter as well. The 80 who actually do get the ordinals as well. So that's going to be super cool. That's, I guess, my point of view on it too.
Personally, I think $1 million is a good number, especially if you got it in a collection that's kind of like an OG on the Bitcoin ordinals. But thank you for bringing me up, guys. It was nice meeting you. Those were the questions I had. But I'll be back and catch you in another Ordinals Space.
I just wanted to follow up with Colin's question as well. I think if anyone in the audience is wondering what the hell I'm talking about with rare Satoshis, it's just another aspect to this thing. I completely agree with Sai in terms of like value is like obviously really subjective and kind of what is valuable and one man's trash and all that kind of stuff. But in terms of when we're talking about rare Satoshis, it's actually documented pretty well on the docs on ordinals.com if you go and check that out. And I suggest you read through that, because it's like just another aspect to this whole ecosystem where another fun component is, hey, if you can inscribe these things on Satoshis, why don't we inscribe them on kind of ones that have, relative kind of a cool aspects to them, like for example a Satoshi that was mined in the first ever block of Bitcoin does have some gravitas to it, because you can basically say that. So you can see on the explorers the exact date when these Satoshis were mined, and if it says 2009 then it's obviously going to be a really early one. And then Casey, the creator of Ordinals, is kind of a really advocate of this kind of a thing, and he's actually compiled a list of rare Satoshis on Ordinals.com that you can go and look at. And the reason I'm talking about it is because we at Ordinals Bot, we're getting a lot of inbound already. We can notice these questions are coming up quite a lot now in terms of, what is this thing? Can we get them? Can I inscribe them? So it is becoming a narrative in the ecosystem for whatever reason, and that's people are actually clicking onto it now. And because of that, we're building tool set for that, right? We're going to build basically an extended API where you can just put your wallet address in, and then we'll just scan that and just give be able to just really quickly give you segregate them based on rarity of the standard, whatever the rarity categories might be. We'll just give you that, and then it'll essentially allow us to build out tooling where you can essentially just say inscribe to this or this. You can basically choose one. We're already filtering them on our side in the back end, any early ones and stuff, so we're kind of stockpiling them ourselves as Bitcoin comes into our service, because it's really nice, right? With our payments, and you can inscribe this stuff with Bitcoin, so it's flowing through our system. So we can start to essentially what do you call it when you shake the gold through the thing, and you can essentially filter these rare sats out. So I would recommend definitely reading up on it, because it's quite an interesting component to this whole thing.
So we've actually, by we I mean me and someone else who I'm not sure if they wanted to be named on this, have actually been doing this as a service, specifically inscribing projects onto. So remember, if you go all the way back to this space, 2 hours ago almost now, I brought up that ordinals are just like a serial number on a dollar bill. Well, people will find meaning in numbers. It's what we're good at as humans. So we had a project that requested that they be inscribed on ordinals that ended in a specific number. And we put double-digit amounts of them on ordinals that ended with 420, 69. And as much as, funny numbers, that's fun. the ability to find meaning in numbers will mean that even the things that aren't defined by Casey's spec for what's rare will eventually have value to somebody, whether it's you want an ordinal that ends in your birthday encoded as numbers or something weird like that. It's why I say, find what has value to you, then reach out to tech people like me, Brian, Jan. There's so many of us post Capone, and we'll help you figure out how to go from I want this to having this.
That's awesome. All right. Raymond, appreciate you coming up. I think that's probably a good time to wrap it up. We're almost approaching 2.5 hours of this space. I just want to say like a massive thank you to Sai, to Brian, to John, who as well. I appreciate you guys spending the time and helping educate and bring awareness to it as well. Obviously, it's super exciting for us and the Lazy Lions, like for the Lazy Lions community, because we're all going through this together with the Open Edition and the Ordinal mints from that as well. So it's a super exciting time. I think we'll end it off here. But Sai, Brian, if there's anything you guys want to say to close it off, please. The stage is yours.
I can go first, yeah. I mean, I just want to say that I think it's amazing to see communities like yourself coming over to the Ordinals Space. I've got huge respect for Lazy Lions and everything you guys have been able to grow together as a community. I think it's fantastic. So to see you guys recognising that and wanting to push the envelope even further, I think is an inspiration. I hope other projects take your lead as well. And if anybody out there just thinking about launching a project, I need some help with inscriptions. We're basically offering a real kind of white glove service at the moment. Like, we're really helping people launch their collection to the point where we'll help you compress your files. Like, we really want to spend that time educating people and trying to get them on board, and try to answer the questions. So please drop into my DMs or follow Ordinals Bot Twitter account, and we're really more than happy to help you out.
Yeah, to expand on that, I think this is exactly one of the things I want to see. Like, there's a lot to learn. You guys are going to come across, and it's going to be scary for some people who aren't technically, motivated or knowledgeable. But come across, hang out with us, spend time talking to us, and become part of the ecosystem, because we're excited to have you here. Oh, sorry about that.
Asher, was that you who just mentioned about the birthday and the inscription number?
That was Sifour. Sifour.
Oh, okay. That was beautiful, man. I love the thought of that. So good job, everybody. I look forward to seeing everybody around other spaces. Thank you.
Awesome. All right. Appreciate you guys so much. Everyone listening in and who joined in the speakers. Obviously, guys, we all got that. We're going to be in the Discord. We've also got another space with OpenSea. This will be right after launch as well. We'll be posting up the details of that too. The official DApp website for the minigame for Butcher's Army, that's going to be going live, as well as the snapshot, like I mentioned, for all eligible holders. So exciting times. Everybody listening in, thanks so much for joining in. Kings, Queens, chat to you all in the Discord.
Thanks, guys.